The advice and opinions expressed by the host of Autism Live and her guests are meant solely as suggestion and should not be in any way construed as child-specific advice. The Center for Autism and Related Disorders advises working with a board-certified behavior analyst who has experience with autism before starting any intensive behavioral intervention. Any choices you make in determining your child's treatment are completely at your own discretion.
Good morning and welcome to Autism Live. I'm Shannon Penrod. We're coming to you from the Warner Center. We're live this morning from the Warner Center in Woodland Hills, California. This is the home for Autism Live. It is also the home for the Center for Autism and Related Disorders. We are thrilled to be here with you this morning. Hey, do you know what today is? It's my kid's 16th birthday. Stop the presses. How could that have happened? I don't even know. It gives me goosebumps and it makes me slightly nauseous, as any of you who are parents can understand. Ev Kung, who's going to be joining us in just a second, is doing a dance, as am I inside. 16 years old, and we hardly get to celebrate today. You know why? Because he's taking finals, and he has one big final today that is his honors math final, which is, you know, kicking everybody's tuchus. How amazing is that? That is, see, I'm gonna get emotional out the gate, but that's how good my life is, that our biggest concern is that he's turning 16 and he's got this honors math final that's like trigonometry and geometry. I can't even understand the questions. And why? Why is that my day? Because we got the best treatment that we could get for him at the right time, and we did it at the right amount, as much as we possibly could. That's why my life is so good, and that's why I'm here, because I like to help you to get to that for yourselves. Whatever it looks like, because it's not one size fits all, right? But we want to be able to help you to get to that. But that's my thing for today. So anyway, there's lots of ways that you can be writing in. We're going to be live with you throughout this hour. Traven's going to show you some of the different ways that you can connect with us, some of the ways that you can have your thoughts, feelings, questions, concerns heard. It's all free, no matter which site that you're on. It's a free download on iTunes, so please check us out there. You can, by the way, download either the show in this format or just the audio. Take us with you in the car. That's a very easy thing to do, and as I said, it's free to you. I do want to remind you that our homepage is autism-live.com. When you go there, you can chat with us. There's a chat at the bottom, and I'll be checking in on that in a little while, and we have some questions taken directly from that we're going to be addressing in just a second. But you can also be writing into us on Facebook and YouTube. We sort of do the best at getting to those questions, although we don't get to all of them, and I apologize. Be persistent. Persistent gets it done. So we've got a great show for you. We do not have Dr. Doreen Grampiche. She came by to give her condolences that she cannot be here today. But we have the fabulous Evelyn Kung, who's going to be with us. So stick with us. We're going to be right back with Ask Evelyn Kung. Don't go away.
Do you provide care services to someone with autism? Recently, more and more children are being diagnosed with the condition and getting the support they need as awareness grows. But what happens to these children as they grow up? It's estimated that over 500,000 youth with autism will turn 18 in the next decade, and they'll be faced with a very difficult reality. As children with autism grow up, their services start to disappear or become very difficult to access. Things like medical care, mental health counseling, vocational training, and more. All services that are still desperately needed. The loss of support that youth with autism face as they grow up is so severe that it's referred to in the autism community as falling off a cliff. Adults with autism need the same level of support they had as children to avoid falling off the services cliff. Introducing Skills Living, the web-based software designed specifically to help transitioning youth and adults with autism so they can avoid the cliff and instead fly to success. With Skills Living, help your learner with autism develop the skills they need in all the critical areas of adult life, including self-control, planning, and problem-solving, effective communication, performing life skill tasks for independent living, acquiring and maintaining employment or other meaningful activities, developing and maintaining social skills and relationships, accessing transportation and public services, and being safe. Skills Living includes a comprehensive assessment, a data collection mobile app, behavior intervention plan builder, and automatic progress reporting. It also provides a complete curriculum addressing 16 key areas spanning the entire range of functioning adulthood. Skills Living is easy to use and can be implemented by schools, parents, and autism service providers. Call or click today for your free demo and see how Skills Living can help your learner with autism avoid the cliff and instead reach their fullest potential. Skills Living. Wish, learn, become.
Welcome back. We're telling elevator stories, and I was just telling on myself that when I found out that we were moving the studio and the Center for Autism and Related Disorders was moving to the 18th floor of the Warner Center, I said to Dr. Grampuchet, "It's been lovely knowing you and working with you. Bye-bye," because I don't like elevators. And she looked at me like, what? And then she said, "Oh, well, we'll start the systematic desensitization tomorrow," as she would. And I said, the last thing I want to do is systematic desensitization on an elevator with Dr. Dorian Grampuchet. I'll do it on my own. I figured it out. I worked it out. I tried to be able to take the stairs. And if I could have, I would be a skinny person today because I hate elevators that bad. Anyway, we digress. But that's what happens in the break, you guys.
That's what we talk about.
So, we have with us the fabulous Evelyn Kung, and I'm so happy that you're here with us today to answer questions because we've got some doozies of questions for you. And talk a little bit for just a second about what your role is at CARD and how long you've been here and all the wonderful, because she does so many wonderful things, you guys. And I know families are always just so excited when you come and visit a center and they get to meet you and you get to meet their kiddos because you breathe fresh air into everything. You're remarkable.
No, I've been here for over 25 years. It's been a long time. It's more than that, and I stopped counting a long time ago. And realistically, it's more than half my life now, I realize.
Wow.
So
That's crazy.
So it's pretty crazy. When I started in this field, there was nobody, we didn't know what to call it. I kept telling them, "What do you call this?" And everybody would be like, "Well, it's behavior therapy, but it's not." So nobody called it ABA. There was no BCBA at the time, right. Just the whole field. The rate of autism was only 1 in 10,000.
Right.
So that was really different too.
It's very, small number of people.
Every time I said I worked with autistic children, everybody said, "Do you paint and draw?" And I'd say, "No, not artistic."
Right. Because it was the dark ages of autism 25 years ago.
Yeah, so it was a long time ago. So now my job divides in half the time. My favorite thing is seeing families and kids. Yeah. That's still my favorite thing, the clinical problem solving that goes into looking at treatment programs and figuring out like what will work best for a child or why is something not working. That is still half my job. I still love it. I travel offices, spend lots of time with supervisors and kids and just hanging out with them and trying to problem solve. And then my other half of my life is the skills curriculum and the skills logbook data collection. Yeah. And so I've learned a new skill in my later adult life.
Which is good for your brain and good for us.
Really good for my brain. I keep saying it's Alzheimer prevention.
Yes, right.
So building like the skills book app and running skills and making sure adding new things and making sure development is up to par.
The clinical side of skills,
yes.
the parts of it that are the lessons and the progression, because I don't know if people watching realize, so for anybody who's brand new, Skills is an online tool and it does a lot of different things, but part of what it does, there's an assessment that can tell you that you can take, that a parent can take, and there's even been a study to show that it's effective at a parent taking it, that and you find out where an individual is, like where the holes in their skills are, which then gives you a set of lessons that's ginormous to pick from, usually ginormous. But then it gives you the progression, a potential progression, and you can move it around if you want to do lessons. There's a whole other part of it that's about reducing challenging behavior, because there's a behavior intervention plan, but it's this online tool. Now, it is available to anyone. There is a cost. There's like a monthly subscription to it, but schools have it. There are schools who use it to deliver ABA lessons to their students and to track them into interdisciplinary.
The schools love it because they can put all their IEP goals in there by lessons, and they're tracking what the child learns. So if they learn categories and they learn 10 categories, everything is put in there with dates and when they started it, when they introduced it, when they mastered it. And then when they move to the next classroom, those teachers love it because they can look back and said, it's just not that they mastered 10 categories. They can actually look and see what those categories were and the details and how long it took them to learn, so that they can look at the child that's now in their class and say, okay, this is the base of what you know, and this is how you learn, so they can track all of that. So.
Anybody who's ever been a teacher, and when you get a student, a lot of times what happens, I call it the Swiss cheese kid, right? They come in and there's holes. And you have to now figure out where the holes are and where to pick up, which sometimes that can take a while to be able to figure out, oh, well, what this child doesn't have is that they don't understand when you put two vowels together what the sound is, and that's messing up their reading, which is messing up their comprehension. You know, I mean, it can take you months to figure out where the hole is so that you can teach to it. So as you were saying, teacher can go, oh, this is right where we want to pick up from last period or last week or last year. You know, so amazing for that. But parents also use this. It's a tool that we have parents all over the world that they sign on to be able to know. They take the assessment, know where their child is, and they begin working with their child, and sometimes train other people in the family or in the community to work with the child to have an ABA program. But centers for autism also use them, and CARD, it is the curriculum that if you come into CARD, your child automatically gets a skills account, and your supervisor will be using skills to track their progress and to design which lesson that they're going to teach next. So that is the behind the scenes of CARD, and as the clinical director of CARD, you're taking those and updating it, adding new lessons, making it more efficient, which is really amazing. It's, you know, she's the wizard behind the curtain, making that whole thing happen.
It's a lot of fun for me. I love problem solving. These kids are great. You know, I have such a good time with these kids, and I enjoy them, and I enjoy trying to figure out what is it that is either preventing you from learning, or what do you really love, and let's like work on that too, and it's a great thing.
One of the amazing things about getting to work with somebody like Evelyn, who has been doing this for so long, is that you've seen so much, and you have this database in your head that you see a child doing something and you can remember 10 years ago a child who did the same thing, because we see that some kids are like other kids, right? And then you have the ability to remember, thank goodness, that, oh, you know, we took a while, but we figured out what would work to fix this is this, so that can be plugged into that child. Now, what I'm leading up to is that there's a new study that's out just this week.
Yeah, it's exciting.
It's very exciting that that takes that kind of knowledge and put it with an algorithm and the back end of skills. So I've been telling you for a while that the Center for Autism and Related Disorders was phenotyping autism, and the study is out. So we're going to be talking about that some more the rest of this week and next week, because what it means is what we've always known as parents, because, you know, they say when you've met one person with autism, you've met one person with autism, sure, but we recognize, oh, we get together with a group of kids and we go, oh, my child doesn't have that kind of autism that child has, but he has what that child has. And then you kind of want to know, what are they doing about this? And how did they get their child to do this? Well, this study has subtyped it autism into, is it 16 different groups? I think it's 16 or
So
17.
many different groups.
But this is going to help to teach kids faster.
Yes.
And it's like taking Evelyn's brain and all that she remembers about 25 years of working with kids and making it accessible for all of us.
It's pretty amazing. I mean, the fact that just from the data that was inputted by everybody and that they could look at this algorithm and then churn out that there was a pattern. And we didn't know the pattern was there. It's
Yes.
just that all the data that we've collected within skills produce this pattern.
And I get goosebumps, literal goosebumps, because it is the largest sample of kids that have ever had this amount of data taken ever. It's tremendous. So we are going to talk more about that. But we have questions.
Yes.
And we had one viewer who wrote in, and I wrote to her very early this morning, and I said, I'm going to ask your question, and she was so excited. So it's kind of lengthy, and I'm going to try to hit some high points here. But the parent says, my kid is 5.5 years old. He has a problem following instructions. He's been going to preschool autism class since he was 3 years old. Since last year, we've been doing 10 hours of ABA per week. School, he is mostly compliant with some occasional exceptions, but there are some problem behaviors. There's eruptive behavior for washing hands after coming home from school. As soon as he enters home after school, he becomes so defiant. He's trying to just do the opposite of what's being said to him. Lately, he started to not taking off the shoes immediately because that is the first thing that I would ask him to do. But the main struggle is the washing the hands. He goes a little bit wild when I take him to the restroom to wash hands right after coming home from school. He throws his hands in his air, screams, recently started hitting me, and while crying loud, he says, I want to read books, because that's what he loves to do. As soon as the washing is done, I remove myself from the scene so as to stop the behavior, and also because this person says, I get so upset. Now, in regards to the hitting, they go on to say, I want to give him consequences, but I can't figure out what. I tried. When you hit, I won't go to bed with you. When I used this, it worked for 3 days, then the hitting returned. The consequence, it's not immediate. I love that the mom recognizes this. And it's hard for a mom to linger in an issue when there's a sleepy kid, so I guess that's not a good one. Thank you for admitting that it's hard for you to follow through on, and for recognizing that apart from school, washing hands is equally eruptive when paired with his request for some food, ice, loves to eat ice, and loves potato chips. However, washing hands after using the bathroom is peaceful. Okay, so that's a big clue. Though he tries to escape them sometimes, but he will also voluntarily do it. Apart from this behavior, he's defiant for a lot of things. He will keep on reading books or drawings, and when I ask to do anything else, he doesn't comply because he doesn't want to leave the preferred activity. Like, welcome to the world, none of us do, right? Getting any routine task done is a struggle. I want to do so many activities, tasks with him, but we can't work through it. I think apart from escaping the task, could defiance be intrinsically motivating to him? What a great question. Mom goes on to say that she's a stay-at-home mom with him 100% of the time when he's not at school, and that maybe she's been a little bit submissive as a parent and very accommodating to his needs. Welcome to the club of every parent who ever had a child, and especially a child on the spectrum. So we'll all forgive ourselves, right? He's stubborn, he's smart, witty, good sense of humor. She distracts him with YouTube, but that doesn't last long enough. And the BCBA that they have for the 10 hours, she reports, has not been much help. Well, and when you have 10 hours, and I'm sure you're going to talk about that, and she watched the show with Dr. Grandin about getting our kids to do things. She really wants to be able to do that, but has not been successful, and she loves the show. And she wrote back to me when I told her you were going to answer the question, and she loves you. So it's a love fest. Let's see if we can't dig in here and be of some use to this amazing mom.
This mom is amazing. I can tell she's really trying. I mean, kudos for the effort, because it gets tiring. And you're 100% stay-at-home mom. I have to say that I've been some of my years a stay-at-home, and it's hard. I think it's the hardest job.
I do too.
You know, because your reward isn't always immediate, especially if you have a child with autism.
Yeah, no kidding.
And so, I mean, kudos to you for doing this. There are so many issues going on here.
I know.
There is
Where do
no
you wanna
way
start?
that I can even start. I mean, the really basic one, and I feel like I say this every time I come, is because I haven't seen the child.
Yes.
And,
Oh,
you
I
know,
didn't
we
give
don't
the
know.
disclaimer.
Yeah, the disclaimer.
The disclaimer is that we can't give individual specific advice. No one could in this format, right? That would be a disservice to everyone,
Yeah.
but most especially the person on the spectrum. So Evelyn is going to talk about things in generalities.
Yes.
And then, you know, that's what you take back and you sort through that and you take back to have discussions with the people who have eyes on.
Yes.
Okay.
You have a BCBA and you have ABA, but 10 hours a week, I can cry for 10 hours a week.
Oh, yeah.
And realistically, I've seen kids cry for 10 hours a week, especially the smart ones.
Right.
The smart ones fight more because they know that if they fight long enough, they're going to get what they want their
Yeah.
way. And, you know, we all get tired. A lot of times there's siblings and other family members, and life just gets in the way. So you can't follow through, so you do give in, and the kids recognize that give in. And I always say that with typical kids, you can be 80 or 90% consistent, and they'll understand why for the last 10 or 20%. But for our kids on the spectrum, especially when they're really young, you really have to be try to be 100% consistent in your follow through, because that's how they're going to learn. Whenever you give that little piece, they're going to make it a mile, because they really don't understand the social aspect of it and why you're asking. And that actually with washing hands is really common. You know, why do we do this?
Right.
You know, the idea is that there's germs, but I can't see anything, and
Right.
it doesn't look dirty if I know the concept of dirty. And so when you're making me do this, I have no reason why you're making me wash my hands.
Right.
There's just no clue. And that alone is a social understanding.
Yeah.
I need to wash my hands to be able to, so they stay clean. So when I eat, I'm washing off all the germs from school. Like, that's one aspect of it, is he doesn't even understand the concept of why I'm washing my hands. But you said when he's fine washing his hands after using the toilet for toileting. So that gives him some idea. It could be a number of things. One of the things is it could just be a routine. He knows that if I go potty, then I wash my hands. That always goes together.
Right.
And therefore, now that you're trying to make me wash my hands without going potty, you're breaking a routine.
There you go.
So that could be one thing. That could, and the thing is, maybe at school they always pair it. So you're getting 6 hours of school a day pairing the toileting and then the washing hands. And now during this part of the day, you're trying to break this routine that's is there. You don't know it's there because the majority of the time you do. You do your toileting and you wash your hands, and that's good hygiene.
Right.
So, you know, why is this exception here? So that could be one of the things.
So what would you do to combat that? Would you just like up the ante on the reinforcer so that there's a huge reinforcer for washing your hands when you come home from school? What would you do?
It depends. You have a child who likes to read.
Ah.
And that actually is, I love readers, because readers, the whole reason they like to read is words, the way they're spelled, the format in books, it never changes. And it just feeds into that need for rigidity that autism wants.
That's
Autism
stability,
is they want the structure.
Yeah.
And books and words, Apple's always spelled A-P-P-L-E.
There you go.
It doesn't change. And so for readers, a lot of times if we have adaptive skills that are a problem, just the fact of reading is helpful. So just writing the words, wash your hands sometimes, and getting them to read it is so satisfying that that's enough to get them to do the task.
What a great idea.
It's kind of crazy to think about, but they're the kids that really love words and love reading. Just whenever we just put the instructions into a text format, they have no problem with it.
Interesting.
And part of it is that they just love reading and they're going to do it, and it's reinforcing enough. Sometimes it makes it concrete. Because especially if you're breaking a routine, you're just making a concept that is not concrete enough for them, and when you put it into words, suddenly it just makes sense to them.
Okay.
For some kids, it's an auditory processing issue. When they hear instructions, maybe there's a delay and they don't know this is coming, and even though it seems like they know what washing hands is, they actually really don't understand it.
Okay.
They might know it after toileting and as a part of the routine.
Got it.
But actually understanding what washing hands means could be an issue. And it probably is not for yours, because it sounds like he reads and he does all these other things.
Yeah.
But it is, we have kids who, families will come in and say they know how to do all these things, but then when we actually take the task by itself and actually present the instruction to the kid, they have no clue.
Interesting.
But then this also can go into, you ask, like, is defiance a part of this?
Yeah.
So one of the things that happens in school, and it depends on the classroom because you don't know how it functions, but one thing about school is there are a group of kids that love the environment, and if he's a reader, there's a lot of reading and probably numbers that he likes, and so there's a lot of reinforcers in the class. But he also knows in order to get access to reading and writing and all these things, he has to do what the teacher says or does what the class does. So maybe he's been at school in control for the last 6 hours.
He's been holding
it together. And for the last 6 hours, I've been doing all the things I'm supposed to do. And sure, I like these reinforcers there. But I've been holding it together. And now I'm home, and at home is safe.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to let go. And I want control now. Like maybe he wants control now. So that it's like he just needs something to do that makes him feel good, that he can just do whatever he wants, that he can be in control of. So that there is a definite factor of control. So many of our kids, in the ABA community, it's actually really argued. People argue about whether control is actually a function of a behavior, because every behavior or maladaptive behavior you have has a function. And that's what your BCBA should be helping you with.
Yes.
Is identifying the function of every challenging behavior you have. Because in the ABA world, some people look at control as a function and some do not. I see it as a function, but I see it under automatic function.
Okay.
It's control, and it's a part of the automatic, because for some reason it feels good.
Yes.
You know, intrinsically.
And there's something inside about it that feels good about knowing that you're the captain of your own destiny.
Yes. And I think that there are definitely kids that come in and do things purposely just to control everything in their environment.
Yeah.
And for those,
I think that's me. I don't think that's just children. I think that's me. I honestly, I mean, I have diagnosed OCD, and one of the things that was explained to me is that it's because there are big things that I cannot be in control of, so I want to be in control of little things.
Yes.
And that's why, and that I can talk to myself about that, about I don't really need to be in control of this because what I really want is that. But that was eye-opening to me as an adult in my 40s to go, oh, that's why I need to do this over and over and over again, because I don't have control over that.
Yep. And OCD, the main function is control. Also anxiety.
Yeah, well.
Anxiety is also main function is control. Anxiety is because so many of our kids don't know what's going to happen next.
Yes.
So then they try to take control, because maybe they're missing cues and missing language pieces and missing different things. So things seem like they come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And so in order to handle that, I'm going to try to control as much as I can. But there's just so many, I wish I could tell you exactly what to do, but you have a kid who likes reading, who likes rewards, learning to parrot before he leaves for school, writing him a schedule that says you're going to come home from school, get off the bus, walk in the door, put your bag down, wash your hands. And sometimes just telling them and putting in a format.
Read books.
And then read books right underneath it so he can see this is the order and creates a routine. That probably would be helpful to him.
And for a lot of kids, we would make that visual, but because he likes to read, it can be text.
He likes to read.
Awesome.
All the kids that like to read, I just put it into text. They don't need the pictures.
There we go. Well, and I just want to briefly touch back on the 10 hours a week, because there are studies that show that 10 hours a week is sometimes more of a frustration than a make progress. And that we all need to, I want to know why you're only getting 10 hours a week. Is it because that's all the funding source approved? Because you should go back and challenge that. You should appeal that and ask for more hours. And if it's that that's all you could afford the copay for, there are grants.
Yes.
But the 10 hours of ABA, if you've got 10, that means you have a funding source. So we should be asking for more, and more would help you. And your BCBA would be more helpful to you if they had more hours. 10 hours for a BCBA, it's like, it really isn't enough time to get in and do much of anything.
It's just really, and the thing is, I know 10 hours seems like it's so much in comparison to like the 1 or 2 hours of speech therapy that people recommend. But in reality, in these 10 hours, you're teaching this kid how to gain control, how to communicate. And with the right reinforcers, therapy is really fun.
It can.
If you're a
it should be.
It should be very, very fun, because there should be reinforcers given to the kid at the amount that they need it to stay paying attention and included. If they're screaming and crying the whole 10 hours and you just can't handle anymore, there's something wrong with the format of your ABA.
There we go.
Because most of our kids, because they like structure and therapy is pretty structured, they really do love it. You know, they
Yes.
really love ABA, especially at this age, especially for kids who are readers. The readers tend to be inflexible. When
Interesting.
kids walk in, when parents walk in and said, "Oh yeah, my kid's been reading since he was 2," I'm like, that means in my head
Right.
that you have all these inflexibilities too that come with it.
right.
And so we're going to need to work out all those inflexibilities.
Okay, but it's important to work on them at this age because it's much easier to work on this at 5.5 than it is at 12 or at
Definitely.
25.
Yeah.
So better to get it now.
Do it now, and you'll see that your kid will be much happier once he understands what's going in his environment, because that's what ABA would be teaching you. You know, the more he gets, the more he's going to learn, the more he's going to figure out how to do what he wants to do within the structure of society.
Okay.
You know, that independence means a lot for you as a parent, but also for him. Once, especially if he likes control, once they realize, oh, you're not going to bug me if I just do all these things that are like hygiene oriented.
Yeah.
They're just like, they're all about it because they can have control of how they brush their teeth and all these other things. And it makes them feel good to not have somebody else tell them what to do.
Amazing. So we should take a break. I'm going to check in on some of the sites because I know you guys are writing in. We've got a bunch of questions that are already come in on the live feature. We're going to get right back with the fabulous Evelyn Kung. Stick with us.
Hi guys, welcome back. For the month of May, I thought it'd be really neat if we made our own bird feeders. What's cool about it is once it's done and it's hung in your front yard, backyard, balcony, or whatever outdoor area that you have, your kids will be able to observe the bird feeder and tap when they see birds coming over and feeding from it, like, oh my gosh, oh, so exciting. Do you see that? Sorry, I got distracted. I'm just so excited about all the different birds I've been seeing now that I have a bird feeder hanging outside. Anywho, let's get started. The materials you'll be needing are 2.5 cups of birdseed, half a cup of boiling water, 2 packets of unflavored gelatin, a spatula, twine, scissors, wax paper, and cookie cutters. Alright, now that I got your materials, it's super easy. I have my boiling hot half cup of water, and I'm going to take my 2 packets of unflavored gelatin, and I'm going to pour them in and stir it. The reason I pour it in the water first all by itself is to make sure that the gelatin dilutes really well, and I can stir it up real nicely. Now that it's been all stirred together, I'm going to take this liquid and pour it into the birdseed, making sure to scrape up all the gelatin that we diluted. Now I'm just going to stir it all up. Okay, now that this is all mixed up, I'm going to take my wax paper and put it on my table, just so I don't make a mess. And then I'm going to take my cookie cutter and lay it down. I'm also going to take a piece of string and cut it, about 6 inches long. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill the cookie cutter halfway full with our birdseed mixture. And then I'm going to take my string, fold it in half, I'm going to place it in the center. This way you can hang this up once it's done and dry. Okay, now that it's full, I'm just gonna pack it in. So now that this is all compacted, it's gonna take about 6 hours for the gelatin to get completely hard. If you take it out too soon, the whole thing's gonna fall apart. So let's wait a little bit and I'll see you guys in a few moments. All right, it's been 6 hours now, so let's see if this little guy worked out. So I'm just gonna pull him up and pop him out, okay? And here's my finished bird feeder. All you have to do now is hang it outside and wait for all the great things you're gonna see. Like, oh, I see another bird. This is so exciting. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the activity and keep me up to date with all the different birds that you and your child see outside your property. Until next time, craft on. Bye, guys.
Can you see me? Can you see me flying by your side?
Welcome back to Autism Live. We're here with a segment that we are calling Ask Evelyn Kung, and she is here answering your questions. I just want to address a couple of things that came in on Facebook really quick that Karen wrote in and said, is this just about children under 5, or do you ever talk about teens? We absolutely do. If you want to send in a question about teens. And she also responded when you were talking about structure, and she said, yes, they need structure. Without structure, they are lost. And I think that is true for a lot of their kids. And Karen also, Karen, welcome. We're so glad that you're here with us. She said a chart on the refrigerator is awesome for the child so that they can see what is going to happen. And as we were saying, a lot of kids need the visual, but the kids who like the text stuff. Somebody else wrote in and said, would having a visual schedule in the car and what's to be done when we reach home help, like first wash hands? And I think they said that before, right before you said that, but yes, absolutely. But we were saying text for that particular child, because if they like text, let's give them what they like.
And it's great.
Isn't it great?
It's a lot easier.
And it is.
It's a
Than
lot
finding a
easier.
picture. You just type it out, print it out, all good. Okay, so I want to move on to another question that came in on our live feature. My child is going to be 8 in July. My child will start ABA in school. Is that better than at home? Also, I'm trying organic food to help my girl with her autism. I want to try next vitamins and fish oil. And you would watch Christina Adams on the show that talking about camel milk, and so they're saying I want to try camel milk if it will help. My girl talks a couple of words. If she hears music, she will repeat it and repeat what someone doesn't says. Can you please guide me? I want to help her to recover from autism. I wish I could have done it when she was 3, no money. Now she's doing better, but still needs a long way to go to recovery. For those who are watching, because recovery is a trigger word, that there are people who violently are opposed to the word recovery. So I just want to address that was the wording that they put. And it is a word that we sometimes use on the show, but I want to be clear that when we say it, what we're talking about is that there is, and I'm sorry, I'm just going to take just a second and then you chime in and say what you, but there is something called an autism spectrum disorder. And you have to have you can have like 1 or 2 things from it, but you don't qualify for the term disorder. So when we talk on the show about recovery, we're talking about people who were diagnosed with the disorder, and we're not saying that we in any way changed somebody's brain, because that's not what it's talking about. We change behavior and skill levels to the point where they may still have 1 from column A and 1 from column B, but their life has been changed and they no longer have a disorder that is interrupting their life. But we're not saying that, because I know a lot of people who are on the spectrum feel like we're trying to wipe autism out. There are things, for instance, I'm going to use my son as an example. My son is always going to see the world in a different way, and I love that. I love his fresh viewpoint, and he can see things that I can't see. His brain functions in an entirely different way, and frankly, I don't think we should quantify what's better or worse, but I think his is better than mine. I'm just going to say that, right? But there was a time when he couldn't speak. There was a time when his inflexibilities wouldn't allow him to do something that he wanted to do. My son no longer has those things in his way. I couldn't say that my son is disabled. There's no part of me that could say that my son is disabled anymore. But there was a time when he was. So I think that's the spirit of what this parent is saying. And there is a strict definition at CARD that someone can be considered recovered, that term, if they no longer qualify for the disorder diagnosis by a person who sees them and has never seen them before. They are able to function in all areas of their life without additional support. They are able to maintain a C average at school with no support. Am I forgetting one of them?
Well, my thing is they have at least some kind of social group.
There we go. They have
It can be one
social,
person, but there is some aspect of social functioning.
Okay. So in any case, so that's kind of, and I think most parents, when they come in and have their child diagnosed, that we want for our child to be able to do everything that they want to be able to do. So it's
Definitely.
okay to want that.
Yeah, and it's okay to want that, and it's a worry for parents.
Yeah.
You know, even if your child's not on the spectrum, you're going to worry about how independent and able functioning they are.
Yes.
You know, regardless of, you know, a disability. But when you have a child who's 2 or 3 and isn't managing the basics of language, you're going to worry as a parent.
Yeah.
And you do more than worry. And so the goal for that child to be fully functioning and independent is a goal, I think, overall. It's a common goal for everyone, regardless of disability or not. But you get autism in there, and I have a lot of kids who are in their 20s now. The kids I first worked with, they're almost 30 now. And, or they are 30 probably. So I'm like thinking about it. But it's great to see that they are doing what they want in life. They're
And having
completely
full,
independent and
rich
loving it.
lives.
And I mean, they do amazing things.
Yes.
The families that still like email me once in a while and tell me like, oh, my kid just did this. And I'm just like, that's amazing, because there's no way my brain could ever do that.
Right.
Their brains are built differently. And what you're doing is that, like I would say, that memory, that rigidity, all of that, if you can channel it into something the right way and something of interest for that kid's going to do amazing things.
They will have a full and rich life. So having defined that now, since this got brought up, because we don't want to and don't mean to offend anybody, I think the main question here that we need to address, I mean, there's some things about organic that I want to address, but the child starting ABA in school, and is it better at home?
I think it's great that you're in ABA school, but I think you need ABA at home too. Because one thing about the ABA school environments, not all places have it. Like here in the U.S. on the East Coast, there's a lot of ABA schools on the East Coast, but it's hard to find one here on the West Coast.
Yeah.
And what I see in the ABA on the East Coast is, you know, the point of school is academics. And that a lot of your school day is spent working on the academics using ABA. They do compliance and work on the challenging behaviors because they need to manage that to be able to teach the academics. And then as the kids get older, some of the programs change to more like adaptive functioning, learning how to, you know, all the hygiene and all of that, eating appropriately. But there's a whole other life that goes on at home. And you need that at home. And one of the things that, you know, is common for all kids with autism is generalization is an issue. And it's generalization not just across places, but people and how you do things. And there's a lot of activities that you don't want them to do it the way they do it at school. You want them to do it differently at home. So you need the ABA at home so the child learns how to generalize. You need whatever ABA program you have at home to be able to talking to school, so that behavior plans are the same or similar. You're not working against each other. If you are able to work on the similar things at the same time, your child's going to get it that much faster. Being able to do all those skills at home, like learning how to use their free time. You know, at school is just structured day, and there might not be any free time. And so the child is doing what they're needing to do. But when you're home, you have, you know, all your meals, your outings with family, quality time with family. I always say, like, parents will ask me, what should they be doing at home? And I say, well, what did you do before you had kids? I ask the parents all the time,
Right.
What did you do before you had kids?
Yeah.
Like, what kind of music were you interested in? What kind of videos? Like, what did you, if you liked going out, what kind of activities? Because the goal is to get that child to integrate into your life as a family. So many of the families initially, like, they're so funny. They'll hit like 10 years old and they'll be like, we're so tired of Disney, or, you know, of Barney or somebody, you know, whatever the child really loved at 2 or 3. And I always say, like, hey, they've seen Barney 3,000 times, you know, in the first 3 years of their life. So if you want them to be interested in whatever you're interested in, you have to expose them to those things too.
Yeah.
Music, Star Wars, whatever it is, and there's Disney appropriate
Yes,
for adults.
absolutely.
And, you know, there's a lot of pop culture that families, you know, do things with. And I always say, like, let's get that kid integrated into your life. They need to know how to be a part of their family. And so there's a lot of other teaching that needs to be done at home. And if you can get the consistency across the environment and get the problem behaviors out of the way and get communication going, then you can work on all those things that will improve the quality of your life at home.
And, you know, this parent writes in and says that their child's about to be 8. And there is a sentence in here about, I wish I could have done it earlier when she was 3, but there was no money. And this is a reality that so many people in the autism community have, that now for the first time they have funding, but their child isn't that idyllic 3 where we have all the time in the world to catch them up, right? And I think it's really important for everybody first to forgive yourself for not
Definitely.
being, there is no one who could afford it without support, right?
so true.
So you're not the only person, so you have to forgive yourself, because here's what can happen. You can get so stuck in the we missed the boat, and I've watched parents do this, and it's just, it eats me alive. They get so stuck in the, well, we didn't get to have what other people had at 3, and so we're not going to get to here, and they're stuck here, 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 and missing now. And that now is an opportunity to do everything that you can. So now is the opportunity to get as much ABA as you can. Get it at
Definitely.
school, get it at home, get them to go to the museum with you, get as much ABA, and keep pushing until you have as much as you can hold. And I mean that seriously. Like, take the weekends, commit to a couple of years as if you're getting your child ready for the Olympics.
Yep.
It's not gonna be the rest of your life, but say we're gonna go all in for at least 2 years and spend all of our time doing this. Learn as much as you can. I love that you're interested in the biomedical side of things, and we've done a lot of shows. I'm very much a person who is in favor of having your child be as pesticide-free as possible. Every study that we get is telling us more and more that that will help our children to be able to focus. And when you read up on it, you will go down the rabbit hole and you'll go, oh, we need to be as organic as possible. So I think that that's a good choice. There are other dietary things that you can do, and I'm going to tell you the best website to go to, TACA. TACAnow.org. Go there and check out what they have. It's not one size fits all, right? So what works for one child is going to be different for another child. So go, they have TACA mentors. If you join TACA, they're free and they will help you with the biomedical side of stuff. So it's TACAnow.org. That TACA stands for the Autism Community in Action. And I guarantee you it has more information about that kind of thing on their website than anybody else. You'll get the information.
And we have kids who come in at 8 who do amazing.
Yes.
Really, really amazing. They do. I mean, your daughter sounds like she has a great memory, and that's rote memory. And now it's time to try to make it flexible, try to make it so that she can use those words and understand those words in other places. You know, there's a lot of potential there. And we have kids who come in older who do really amazing, but it takes a lot of commitment. It takes many, many hours.
Yep.
It's not going to happen with a few hours.
As many hours as you possibly can, and learn the techniques so that what they're doing at home and what they're doing, the ABA people are doing at home and what they're doing at school, that you understand how to follow through on it and to continue doing it. It's the best parent training there is.
Yes.
So, you know, I won't say that anybody's like, woohoo, I want to do parent training, but you will be happy that you did it. Okay, I'm going to move on to the next question because we're running out of time. Hi, we've got a viewer from the UK. My 18-month-old is showing signs of autism, not responding to his name, living in his own world, no interactions with sibling. Only way to get his attention is singing to him, no functional language, mostly babbles with few words. We are on a waiting list for a diagnosis, but I have started ABA with him at home under a supervision of a BCBA. Can you please guide me about the number of hours per week of ABA at this young age? As I have read, it can range from 10 to 40 hours a week. Also, what should be our early goals at this stage? He has also recently started verbal stimming. How can we minimize that as we are trying to develop his speech as well? And many thanks.
Wow, 18 months, congratulations on getting it early.
And being so proactive.
Yeah, being very having a BCBA there, it's amazing. The youngest I've worked with is 9 months.
There we go. There we go.
And I've had a lot of 18-month-olds. A lot of it has to do with what their nap schedule is.
Okay.
You basically are trying to fit in ABA all around their nap schedule. I'd say initially you can probably get in 20, 25 hours between naps and everything. And then the goal I always say is you get to 40 by the age of 3.
There we go.
Like even 2.5 sometimes. It just depends on their sleep. Some kids need more sleep than others.
Yeah. And isn't this parent a perfect candidate for skills? You're asking about what goals to set, but it really, even at 18 months, it's still individual. I mean, it's a little bit more, because at 18
They're
months,
only
there's
a year and a
certainly,
half. They only know a year and a half of things.
Right, right. So you're not, the things that you're behind on, you're not that far behind.
Exactly.
But everything will be in skills, and I would at least do the trial membership. You can do a 14-day free trial membership and take the assessment.
Yep. You'll have all the questions up to the age of 2.
Make sure that you put in their actual age, though. A lot of times, I've done this before with parents where I'll show them how to log in and everything, and they get to the child's age, and we all get squeamish about putting our child's birth date into a computer thing. I don't know what that is, but we all do. And so a lot of times they'll just put any date.
Yep.
Don't do that on skills.
Yes, do not, because it's age reliant.
Yes, it will only give you things that are appropriate for that age. And if you put that he's 12, you will be barking up the wrong tree.
Yeah, you'll get overwhelmed and you won't know what to choose.
Yeah.
Right now,
Well, makes
at
sense.
18 months, you'll only get everything up to the age of 2. And what a 2-year-old should know. And a lot of what you're doing right now is that really the communication, a lot of eye contact, a lot of manding through verbal, a lot of being aware in the environment. Like, so if there's a sound, getting your child to be able to look at it.
Right, and all the joint attention and all of those things.
It really is just like understanding things are happening around them and to look and pay attention to what's going on around them. Because it's just, you have it early on. They're 1.5. They're so fun. So many of the skills are still motor-based.
Yeah.
You're working on some of the motor-based just to kind of get them to the point of where you don't have to work on it anymore.
Right.
Maybe they're not interested. But a lot of it is just, really figuring out what they need. If they're sleeping well, put in ABA all around their naps. They still need their naps. Some kids get more tired with ABA. Some actually get really wired with ABA.
Oh, interesting.
So there's a lot of, I've had 2-year-olds do 40-hour programs without a problem.
Wow.
And this is, I had triplets, and they all at different stages got up to 40 by 3, but 2 of them were at 40 at 2 because they were just kids that didn't sleep. And, our kids have all sorts of sleep issues. There's a whole group of them, but what the parents found is if they took away the naps, the kids slept better at night.
There you go.
So it was just, but for a 2-year-old, normally you wouldn't say something like that. You just wouldn't. So look at your kids, look at them as individuals, see what they need, put in the ABA all around, get your BCBA should be training you. A lot of times people say, what do you do with a 9-month-old? And with the 9-month-old, we actually didn't do a lot of direct ABA. We taught the parents and the babysitter how to do a lot of the attention.
Yeah.
How to pay attention to what's going around them and stimulus, just being able to know if there's a light, they should look at the light,
Right.
Or a sound, they should look at the sound. And a lot of it was getting them to interact, give facial interaction, give vocal manding that they could use a voice. He's verbal stimming, which is great because that means he can vocalize a lot.
That's right.
And now you just need to redirect the vocalizations into real vocalizations where he's interacting. So you have a lot of beginning skills that are right in there, but make sure he stays healthy. That's a big one.
Yeah.
You need to make sure they stay healthy and attentive, and you're using every waking hour. Because a typical child is learning every waking hour, and when we talk about number of hours of therapy, it's basically to replicate that.
Yeah.
Because a typical child, every moment that they're awake, they're learning.
They're soaking it up like little sponges. And because you hit this so early, you don't have that much to catch up on.
Yeah.
You're in the best possible position, and you're clearly on it.
Yep.
And we have seen lots of instances where a second child will start to present, and so the parent gets very on it, and that those children sometimes don't even ever qualify for an autism diagnosis.
Yeah, and a lot of our 18-month-olds, and I can say a lot, and usually their siblings, they're done by 3. We've had so many kids finish by the age of 3.
There we go.
We get them into preschool and we're done. And
There you go.
It's amazing.
You get in, you get out.
You get in, get out, they never even remember any of it.
Yeah,
They don't know what happened.
yeah.
And it's just so long ago. But if you can catch it early, there's just less to learn because you're younger.
That's right. Now, we had somebody who wrote in and wants to know if we know what the percentage is of people with autism being financially independent and living in an apartment. I don't think that anybody knows what that statistic is. You know, we're getting ready for another census coming up next year, and they always start lobbying around year 5 between the census about what questions they want. And I know that 3 years ago, there was a question about asking in the census if somebody in the family has an autism diagnosis or ever had an autism. I don't think it's made it into the census, but there has been no real census of people in the United States or in the world. We guesstimate that it's about 2% of the population that is on the autism spectrum. But here's the really interesting thing is that a lot of people who are on the spectrum and live independently and are financial don't disclose that they are on the autism spectrum, and we want to respect their privacy, right? They don't need to put out a billboard. But I will tell you that there's a website that you can go to get a taste for how many people are and what kinds of things they do and what kinds of things they're interested into is if you can go to wrongplanet.net. Made by a friend of the show, Alex Plank. He was 17 years old, diagnosed on the spectrum, and he was like, why don't I see a place where other people like me go and converge? He created this website, it took off, and now Alex, you just saw Alex on The Good Doctor. He played a guest starring role on The Good Doctor, and we were just on the red carpet with him at the Ed Asner poker tournament on Saturday. He's in his 30s, but huge following. It's where real professionals that happen to be on the autism spectrum go to have a lot of questions answered. You can join a chat group there and learn all kinds of things about this particular thing. The hope that I think you're probably looking for asking that question, you're going to find there.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, there are people working at Disney, there are people working at Microsoft, living their whole big lives, driving much nicer cars than me that are on the autism spectrum and enjoying their lives, which is a happy, happy thing to see. We're almost out of time, but someone says, can you please talk more about homeschooling with CARD? My son hates school and social is a disaster. He is not interested in making friends. Now, interestingly enough, we just, when you are a member, when you are a CARD family, there is a CARD parent group that I'm a part of. And every month we have a private meeting. It isn't something that I can invite all of you to, but we just had this as the topic. We had Marianne Castle with us, that she is, what's the phrase for her title? She's the person who's the
superintendent of all the CARD academies.
Superintendent. I knew that there was a word for that. And so she talked a little bit about what a CARD academy situation is like and what homeschooling when your child is at CARD is like. And maybe I can have her come on the show and we can do a whole little discussion about that. Okay, I think that's all the time we have. It went by really fast, didn't it?
Thank you.
But I really want to thank Evelyn for being here and for answering your questions, you guys. I want to remind you that we've got great shows tomorrow and Friday. In particular, I can remember that on Friday we have the amazing Anne-Laure Davin, who's going to be with us. She's a wonderful self-advocate who's part of a group of professionals that are on the spectrum, that are working and financially independent. And she has a book that's remarkable, so she's going to be with us. And we have an amazing young woman, Ifunanya Nwiki. Now, I'm sure that I have slaughtered her name, and I try not to, but she is recently was chosen as one of the 40 under 40 to watch. But she is the CEO of an organization called Jazz Hands. We've had her on the show before, that helps individuals on the spectrum and of other abilities here in Los Angeles. They have a music group. They do regular performances. But the group is called Jazz Hands. So she's with us on Friday for Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy with Nancy. We got a great show tomorrow too. So, but I cannot remember who because I'm having that kind of a moment. But it's fabulous. I remember that it's fabulous. We appreciate you guys for being with us, and we appreciate Evelyn for being here to answer your questions. Please give your kiddos a hug from me and one for you too. Bye-bye for now.